welcome back. It's Rachel, and today I am taking you along as I pot up all of my seedlings. So most of my pepper seedlings I planted in these single cell trays. These are trays that I found actually at the garden center at Lowe's. Some of you were asking where I got all of the trays that I have, and basically a lot of garden centers like Lowe's and probably Walmart, at Home Depot, places like that, they go through so many of these plastic containers. They have a section where they just collect the empty used containers, and sometimes people will bring their own empty used containers back to them for recycling. And so basically I just walked by there. You can take whatever you want. I found some things that looked good and grabbed them, and I'm using them. Some of them are a little cracked already, so they're not going to last as long as if I was going to go buy something sturdy. But the cycle goes reduce, reuse, and then recycle. And so you should always try and reduce your usage, reuse things if you can, and then recycle whatever you can. So I am currently trying to reuse these before they get recycled. And in doing so, I'll have to go back more often to get more trays, but I think it's worth it to get a little extra use out of these little things. And plus, these thinner plastic ones are much easier to crunch, and I don't care as much if I break them as I crunch them to get the plants out. A lot of those harder trays, I've seen people struggle to get the little plants out. So with these, they were free. I don't care if I break them, and they're actually just a little bit easier to use. So like I was saying, most of my peppers, they are one plant per cell, so these are going to be fairly easy to repot. But with my tomatoes, since I know that their roots are a little more resilient, I planted several to a cup like this. I meant to have 5 plants in here, but there must have been some extra seeds. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plants in this cup. I think I have one cup with 9 plants in it accidentally. A lot of the seeds must have just stuck together as I was planting. But these ones I'm going to separate out to 1 plant per cup. And the idea here is by the end of the day to have every plant have its own cup. And that will be its container until it goes into the ground somewhere. And these containers that I'm using, these cups, these are also mostly reused. I do still live in a college town where a lot of parties happen. And so every time people are playing beer pong, at the end of the night, I just take the cups, I run them through the dishwasher, and here they are holding my plants. The other source of my cups, I've mentioned in previous videos, I am a Starbucks barista. So every time I get a drink at Starbucks, I bring home my little cup. Some of my friends will leave their cups. Also at Starbucks, if we're making drinks and we accidentally pull out 2 cups and one of them falls on the floor, we can't wash and reuse that cup. That has to go straight in the trash. So I usually just scoop those up as well and put them in my bag to take home. So I have quite a few of these Starbucks cups, and they're not as ideal for plants because they are clear, and I've heard that probably some bad things can happen if the roots are exposed to sunlight. So my goal is to use the Starbucks cup as the inside cup, and use an opaque cup as the outside cup wherever possible. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to plant up my seedlings. Oh, and real quick before we move on, just a quick update on my single seed challenge. A lot of you know my first seed didn't germinate, and so this is my second seed, and as you can see, it has germinated. It is just starting to push out its first set of true leaves, and hopefully this plant continues to go on to be a very healthy plant. We'll be taking really good care of it. So for those of you who haven't seen this method of using cups for plants before, I'll just briefly go over what it is I'm doing. So the basic idea I'll show you on this one is that you have the inner cup, and that has a hole in the bottom. And basically I just used a pair of scissors and just like poked down a hole in the bottom. And then the second cup on the outside does not have a hole. And this is basically to catch the water that is coming out as you water from the top, or if you're watering from the bottom, you fill the bottom cup, insert the top cup, and the water soaks up through the bottom of the cup. This is a method that I learned from Jessica at Roots and Refuge. She's one of my favorites to listen to, but I think it's a really good method, especially since I had access to all of these cups around me all the time. Wind blowing the gate. So yeah, basically I'm going to take all the inner cups, poke the holes in them, give them a plant, and then give them their own little outer cup as a reservoir. So just like that, I've got the hole in the bottom of my cup, and I'm giving it its opaque reservoir. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these, and then I will come back and show you how I'm getting the plants into these. I'm also labeling each one of my cups on, I'm going to tape on the inner cup and not the outer cup. It'll be a little harder to see, but that way if their reservoir cup gets switched around, I will still know which plant is which. I'm just using regular old masking tape and a Sharpie for this. And the other thing I did that maybe would be helpful if y'all knew, so these trays, right, I have a ton of different peppers in here. And so what I've done is I've labeled the trays in only one spot. This is one piece of tape on the front left corner. It's labeled number 1. I have 4 trays here. And so that I didn't have to spend so much time trying to label every single cell, what I did was I drew a little grid in my notebook here, and basically wrote out which pepper was in which cell. And the little hearts on there, I took the time to put a little heart on each one that was sprouted. And you can see some of them I had to replace with fresh seedlings because they died. But basically, that's the idea, is that in order to save tape and time, I just drew a little grid in my notebook. So we're going to start with plant number 1. It is a Lesa pepper. And I'm actually really excited for this variety because the peppers are like a deep red, and they kind of are this like ox heart shape. They're supposed to be really pretty, and I was really worried that I wouldn't get any because the packet of seeds mentioned that the germination rate was really low for these plants. So I feel very lucky to have some successfully sprouted in my put together setup. Alright, so I've got my label on my cup, and I'm going to fill it with dirt. I've just got some standard potting mix here. Meant for container gardening. Alright, so I'm starting with only a little bit of soil in here. I'm not quite sure how much room I'll need, but basically I'll take the plug out of that tray, put it in here, and then fill in more dirt around that. Since it's just one single plug, it should be fairly simple to do. Don't make the mistake of filling your cup up all the way and trying to poke this big old hole in the middle of it. So I'm just gonna squish to kind of loosen the dirt from the sides, and very gently tip it and catch it with my hand. There we go. Alright, so whole plug didn't come out because there's not too many roots to hold it together, but this is the little bit that I've got. This is gonna go right in here, and we're gonna get a little more dirt. Alright, so here we go. This is what we've got. This is all potted up, and it's going to go in the greenhouse, which I'll show you in just a moment. Alright, and so for most things, most of the time, you don't really want to be repotting them any higher than the soil level that they're already at. But the things that I'm repotting today, which are peppers and tomatoes, it is okay and kind of encourage, especially with tomatoes, to plant them just a little higher up. Tomatoes you can plant all the way up to the first leaves, especially if they're leggy. And I wasn't so sure that you could do this with peppers, but what I'm seeing on some of my peppers, I will show you. This one especially, you can kind of see there at the bottom, those little white nodules. Those are potential roots trying to come out. And so what that tells me is that if I plant it a little bit deeper, then it's going to have a chance to develop a little bit more stable of a root system. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plant especially these taller ones just a little bit deeper than they were before so that they can have that stability in the soil. Alright, so that's a pepper. I want to show you guys also how I'm going to divide up the tomato seedlings that are very densely planted, just so you can see how the roots are doing and how careful you really have to be with those. Alright, so here is the one that I'm going to use. This one is the Amish paste tomato, and again I'm going to do a little bit of squishy squish to get this out, and then I'm going to carefully put my hand over the top here and dump out my plant. Oof. Okay, so here is the root ball. You can see the roots are circling just a little bit, but they're still very loose. They're not too thick right now. And I'm just gonna start slowly kind of teasing them apart, just real gently. Alright, so the next thing I'm gonna do is just start breaking this ball apart, taking little tomato chunks, slowly sorting them out until I have a ball of dirt with just one little tomato in it. Alright, so this is what I've got. This is gonna plop into my container. And then I'm going to fill this up all the way with some dirt. Alright, so you can see I've buried it pretty deep here. I could probably take some time to bury the rest of them just a little bit more, probably with tomatoes all the way up until this first set of leaves here. But I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these, and when I'm done, I'll show you guys all of them out in my greenhouse. Hey guys, it's the next day already. Potting all of those plants took a lot longer than I thought it would, and it was already dark by the time I finished up. But we're gonna jet out to the greenhouse just real quick because it's about to rain, and I will show you what we've done. Alright, so we are inside the greenhouse because it is actually raining just a little bit out here. But let me show you all of these plants. So you've got 1 tray, 2 trays, 3 trays, 4 trays, and 5 trays down there. Yeah, that is a lot of pepper plants and a lot of tomato plants. And I wish I could have shown you guys yesterday how sad these guys looked directly after I put them in. They looked like they were dying, basically. They were all floppy. And I just wanted to show you guys that if I could, so that you don't get scared when you repot your own plants, because yes, they will look like they have absolutely died, but I promise you water them, they will perk up and look just alright as long as their roots weren't too destroyed. So that is all I really have for you guys right now. It's supposed to rain for about 2 weeks straight here, so it might be a little while before I can take you guys back out in the garden with me, but rest assured, as soon as I can, I will be giving you guys an update on how everything is going. But until next time, happy gardening.
thank you guys for watching.